Welcome to the White Collar Advice YouTube channel, or if you're listening to our podcast, thank you. We know you're very busy, and we're going to jump right in and try to provide tons of value as you go through this criminal justice system, or if you're a family member watching on behalf of a loved one. In this video, I'm going to be creating a series of videos based around specific questions specific responses people left to the New York Times Magazine and New York Times article that ran last month. And as a reminder, the Times ran a piece that our team worked on for more than 14 months called Want to Do Less Time? A prison consultant might be able to help. And of course, with that piece came a lot of attention, mostly good, a lot of haters and jealous people, tons of great calls from lawyers with whom we've begun to work, but also some who say, well, I do that. You don't need them. Sounds great. I do that. So in this video, I'm going to break down a specific comment, and this is going to be the first of about 10 or 12 comments I break down in videos because it's going to help you make a more informed decision. When I was a defendant, I was lost. Forget about me for a moment. The majority of people traversing this system at some point feel lost, and the information can feel so conflicting and confusing that people don't know where to begin. Now, the majority of people offering this information have really good intentions. They actually want to help. I'm going to read this comment from Pamela B., a retired federal probation officer in Hawaii. I can tell you, she was a good federal public defender. She had the best intentions. She's a great lawyer. I can tell by the care and concern that she put into this comment, and that's clear that she shared that sort of experience in caring over her 25 plus year or her decades long career. I think that's fantastic. It doesn't change that her advice might conflict with what you hear from another lawyer or what we hear from federal judges. So the best or simple analogy I can use is as a golfer, when I go to YouTube at times, one golf coach is given a totally conflicting tip from another golf coach. And it's like, well, I don't even know where to begin. So some people don't begin. So I want you to make an informed decision. Our whole team does to help. And before I get into this specific comment, forgive me, we're blown up with emails now. Let me go to Do Not Disturb so I am not distracted. I'm going to go to Focus for 1 hour. I'm sorry. We have a subject matter expert page on prison professors, and White Collar Advice proudly sponsors that nonprofit. And through Prison Professors, my partner, Michael Santos, and our team is able to obtain information from subject matter experts that, frankly, I could never obtain. I can't get on the phone with Hugh Horwitz, the former director of the Federal Bureau of Prisons. That would be absurd. But through the work the nonprofit does in teaching and inspiring people in jails and prisons across the country, many thought leaders and subject matter experts want to contribute. So that's the former head of home confinement or the halfway house, John Maloney, head of probation, Hugh, the former director of the BOP. You've got to watch these videos, I think, because it will help you decipher what to do next, what's real versus what isn't, how to clarify what you may be hearing from a number of talking heads, including me, and it will help you make the best possible decision. So before I get into this specific comment, I'm going to preface something I heard from Judge Boulware, a federal judge in Nevada, at a conference 3 weeks ago in San Diego. And Judge Boulware said, the order of mitigation, these were all lawyers in the room and me. He said, here's the order of mitigation, Mr. and Mrs. Lawyer. Number one, it's the defendant. Number two, it's the lawyer. Number three, it's friends and family. I think defendants get this out of order, or lawyers do. In other words, a lawyer does the work, friends and family. What's the defendant doing? That's pretty consistent with what you'll hear from Judge Boo, a federal judge on our subject matter expert page, who said, if you break my window, don't say I'm sorry. Tell me how you're going to fix the window. Only the defendant, in our experience, can do that work. Without question, we want you to have the best lawyer in the world to help you manage that. This Saturday, I'm going to spend hours interviewing a good friend and incredible lawyer, Diane Bass, here in Orange County. No, I'm not paid to say this or promote it. She's a phenomenal lawyer who we proudly send our clients to. Why? Besides being a good writer and a terrific speaker, she believes in mitigation. She recognizes there's a role for a lawyer. There's a role for a consultant, so to speak. But more than that, there's a role for the defendant to articulate through their own efforts what they've learned, why they're worthy of leniency, why they'll never return to a courtroom. In some cases, our team may assist with that. In some cases, our team may not assist. They may go to Prison Professors and get all the resources for free and do it on their own. We just want to provide the information. You decide what to do with it. So I'm super excited to share those series of videos with you with Diane. She is a phenomenal lawyer. In fact, I frequently comment on her posts on TikTok or YouTube. I say, I wish she were my lawyer. She's great. So let's come back to what Pamela B., a retired federal public defender, said specifically in this. But federal criminal accused should take care in selecting an attorney who actually has experience in federal criminal cases, without question. An experienced attorney does everything these consultants do and at no extra cost. I'm going to break that down before I do. A couple of things she says in here are absolutely correct. The advice to accept responsibility is correct, as is the advice to continue to be conspicuously productive at work or as a volunteer. It is imperative to have letters of support attached to the PSR. I love that, Pamela B. I love that you do that, and I hope you got the narrative in there as well. And as the attorney, I also assisted each supporter in framing a helpful letter. That's fantastic. A lot of lawyers don't do that. I filmed a video here recently where a judge lambasted a lawyer because he said, "Did you even read these character letters before they were submitted?" It really upset the judge. So I've heard some lawyers don't always read them. I love that she wrote that. Without guidance, some of these letters are harmful. I know my friend can never do that. I'm actually going to film a separate video on character letters based on what Judge Gonzalez Rogers, an admitted very tough sentencing judge on white-collar defendants, said about letters. I'll film that in another video. And then, of course, she said asking the court to request a particular prison is helpful, but the BOP doesn't have to follow the court's recommendation. Okay, great. Let's come back to this. An experienced attorney does everything these consultants do. This is where you need to make the determination what's best, what that next step is. In our opinion, in this, you may, and we've heard that it may be in our interest to say this because we want you to pick up the phone and retain our team. Whether you call us or not, I'm going to convey to you what we believe moves the needle, in addition to working openly and honestly with your lawyer and helping them understand every nuance of your life and positioning them to negotiate the best plea and argue why you're worthy of leniency at sentencing. We want you to have the best lawyer in the world. We believe that it is also essential for defendants to articulate through their own efforts what they've learned, why they're worthy of leniency, why they'll never return to another courtroom. Or as Hugh Horwitz said, the former BOP director, in our subject matter expert page you should visit to Prison Professors, he said, what is that reentry plan? What does the future look like? It was Hugh who said, at some point, or it may have been John Maloney, the former head of probation, who said, at some point, this defendant or inmate is going to go back in front of this judge seeking some consideration, early release because of the First Step Act, traveling on probation, early release of termination. Well, what are you going back to that judge with? Because all they're going to remember you from is getting sentenced to prison and all these bad things the government said. What are you creating to demonstrate why you're worthy of things you're going to want? So you've got to assess, is that something, as she wrote, an experienced attorney actually does, something a lawyer is going to produce? Again, no slight to lawyers. You have to have a lawyer. Please, some lawyers have taken this the wrong way. That's not the point here. It was Judge Boo, a lawyer, who said, I want to hear from the defendant. That's all I'm helping you understand in this video or podcast. That is the whole point of this video or podcast. We disagree with the specific comment in this. We disagree with the specific sentence in this comment that an experienced attorney does everything these consultants do. We believe you, as the defendant, you've got to take the lead in managing your own life. No one can work harder than you. And to the extent that you can do that work and put yourself first and use that content or these assets to influence all of these stakeholders, a prosecutor, a probation officer, a judge, a case manager in prison, a bureaucrat in the halfway house, we believe you advance your chances of success. So as I wrap up this video, let me make it very, very simple. Do you think it's more impactful if you are going to go to a probation interview if a third party writer has written a letter? Hi, I'm writing this letter on behalf of Justin. I've known Justin since he was 13 years old. He was a nice young kid, and he liked to volunteer his time and contribute and give back. And as a student athlete, he really recognized, okay, that could be a good third party. It could be a good letter, hopefully true. Is it more impactful if someone writes that letter about me, or is it more impactful if I were to say, Your Honor, thank you very much for taking the time to read this letter. In the interest of the court's time, I'll be brief, but let me begin by making clear I accept full responsibility for my conduct. There may be some people in this courtroom who did not have the opportunities and privileges that I took for granted. I squandered them. My parents raised me to know right from wrong, yet pressures I felt in the workplace led me to cheating. And if there's one thing you take away from this message, it's truly that I blame no one. With hopes that you can learn more about me, I'd like to share more details of my life. I was born in Encino, California. My mom is Tolly. My father is Bernie. Something ironic, we grew up in a very privileged, nice area, though my father owned a hardware store. He drove to work every day with a red shirt that said Bernie and a red Honda. And even though he owned the business 2 miles away from USC, where I went to school, I felt very much like my parents were working class, people. My mom never graduated college. She was a paralegal. You can just really get into the story in detail. So is it more impactful if someone is writing that or if you write it? I'm really grateful that Pamela B., a retired federal public defender, left this comment. I'm just asking you to assess as you move forward, beyond working openly and honestly with your lawyer and providing, but besides all that, besides volunteering and working and good PSR and character reference letters, I really want you to think about what Judge Bilwer said. 1, order of mitigation, 1, the defendant, 2, the lawyer, 3, friends and family. And I don't think it can be number 1 family, number 1 defendant if a lawyer says, I do, an experienced attorney does everything these consultants do. Part of what our team does is try to storytell in an effective way, but written in the first person with the defendant. So maybe many hours of interview, of writing, and then rewriting. It's not, hi, I'm Justin Paperny, and I'm writing this letter on behalf of our client. That's third person. No. And again, you may be able to do this on your own. That's why you should go to Prison Professors that White Collar Advice proudly supports. And we give a lot of money every year to prison professors because we give all of this away for free. You may be able to do it on your own. Of course, some people choose to work with our team, whether it's Prison Professors or White Collar Advice. As I close this video, in our opinion, and based on what we've heard from judges, from Judge Boo and other judges throughout the country, when someone says an experienced attorney does everything these consultants do at no cost, we respectfully disagree. We help people articulate through their own efforts why they're worthy of leniency, and it's only something defendant can do, and we're happy to help. Thank you very much for listening and for watching and subscribing. I look forward to doing more videos on this series, and also I mentioned my good friend Diane Bass. I look forward to doing some interviews with her this weekend that I'll be posting soon. Thank you very much. Hey, I did it under 15 minutes. That was my goal. Thank you very much for watching and for listening. Welcome any questions or feedback. Goodbye.